It's the same shirt as last year, and it's the same shirt as last year because I ordered a new 80s shirt, and quite frankly, it's still on a ship somewhere in the Strait of Hormuz, apparently. And we talked about COVID, and we talked about AI, and we talked about the time the Australia Post sign fell down. I wasn't here for that. I can't believe you haven't spoken about the fuel crisis, because this is how I made it happen to get up here to Retail Fest. In fact, I don't think we've seen the national news or the headlines on abc.net.au saying how many litres of fuel Australia has left since we saw how many cases of COVID have broken out in Melbourne or Sydney or Brisbane. So it is an interesting time, and last year it was about the tariffs. This year, there is a lot of pressure coming in the economy, which obviously we all know about. So we're calling this year the year of making it happen, but you're starting that by being here at Retail Fest and using this to drive growth. So if you do remember, I am a product of the 80s. I think last year I spoke after Bruce Ryder, the AI guy, or before. He seemed to live in the 80s, and I do too, and my kids remind me of this all the time. But I grew up not far from here, and the Gold Coast today is full of cool people like you and cool people that look like them, right? So nice white linen, a bit of gold bling, beautiful tattoos, and this incredible architecture. My memories of the area were more like this, right? And this is where my worldview was shaped. We are Gen Xers. We are the ones that, as Bruce Ryder said, we are the storytellers. So what I'm going to share with you a little bit is things that we see in the market as PayPal. We're going to talk a little bit about some products we're launching to help retailers grow their business. It's all about making it happen in 2026. But I am big enough to confess things that we predicted in our data that we thought would happen that didn't happen, and I'm going to get into that in a second. When we talk about things changing and staying the same, I thought this was interesting. This is actually the cockpit of the Artemis 2 rocket, the shuttle or whatever it was. This is what went around the moon a few weeks ago, and if you look at all the complexity, and I'm sure a lot of AI in there, if you actually look at this cockpit here, this was from Challenger or Columbia in the 1980s. So there's probably a way more tech in the Artemis 2, but actually these things aren't really that different. But I said I would confess where we kind of got it wrong. And at one of these events, I remember talking to retailers in online about things that were going to shape the next, frontier of e-commerce. So I'm calling these moonshots that are not yet in orbit, and they could still happen, but this is my confession to you all in the room. So one of the ones that was big was this sort of pay with crypto, right? So crypto is a great asset class. You can make money by holding it. But if you've built a whole checkout or a whole e-com experience where people are going to spend that precious crypto to buy shoes or books or anything that they're going to buy, we still haven't seen this happen. But I remember a few years ago, this was, man, you've got to be able to pay with crypto. Like, this is the way the whole future is going. Sorry, I will call out the mullet. You will see a lot of 80s signaling in my presentation. So not that crypto existed back then. The second moonshot that is not yet in orbit, pay in the metaverse. I have no idea who that is. But I can remember only a few years ago that we were all going to live in a virtual community, buying virtual things, with virtual ads, with virtual payments. We were going to eat virtual food. I actually got suckered into this through a merchant that signed up with PayPal. I bought most of my suburb in the metaverse. It cost about $250. I got most of Bondi. It was a bargain. And in theory, I was going to sell ads, and I was going to be really wealthy from this. I don't know where they are today, but I think this is an example of something. Maybe it will hit orbit at some point, but it's not yet, not yet in orbit. Maybe it will come soon. And then I love this one because this was only like 2.5 years ago speaking here at the Gold Coast. And generative AI just won't be any better than this. And putting up an image like this, and I remember going, wow, like this was done by AI, and the Bitcoin, forget about what that was for. But this was an image put up 2.5 years ago saying this technology is just so amazing. And we all thought, it doesn't do legs very well. And the guy only has one leg and she has three, and it didn't do hands, right? And it's funny, that's only 2.5 years ago, and we thought this was sort of peak AI tech, and this was amazing, and obviously that world is greatly changed now. So PayPal, most of you know who we are. We are privileged to have a lot of you in the room as customers of ours, but I thought I would remind or revert, we're a big player in the Australian market. We're about 26% of e-commerce here. But PayPal is a two-sided network. There's about 400 million total shoppers or buyers, and there's more than 30 million sellers. And if you think about the data set that generates, we hold name, address, we hold financial instrument, debit card, credit card, bank account. We do for you as a seller as well as a consumer. And mostly we always use that data to allow good transactions to go through and to make sure bad transactions or bad people can't get transactions through. And we still do that. But there's a couple of things here that I think are important. This network exists regardless of what shopping cart you're on, regardless of whether you're Apple or Android. It doesn't care about what software you're on. It doesn't care what billing system you have if you're not a retailer but a biller. And so one of the things we're starting to see as commerce moves into artificial intelligence, and this term agentic commerce that we spoke about last year that now seems like it was years ago, but it's just accelerating, is the role that we believe we can play as a layer between surfaces that are generated by AI. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, and I'll get into a little bit more detail about that. So let me just share a little bit of research and a little bit of information that we normally would share at an event like this. I think first and foremost, this one's been in every slide deck for several years and probably has never changed, but customers are always expecting more. My joke about my shirt is stuck in the Strait of Hormuz is just an example of the fact that consumers don't think about that or genuine supply chain issues when they have an issue. But the basic stuff up here is stuff that everybody here knows. You know, friction kills conversion, right? Friction makes it harder for sales to happen. I think everybody in this room that has an e-commerce business knows that. And our research with Nielsen says 31% of Australians abandon a cart because their preferred payment method is not available. Now, as an example, I've got friends that are Amex people, right? They will go find something that they want, and they will find somebody because they love their points, right? So 31% of Australians say if they can't find the payment type they want, they will abandon a checkout. When you combine this with the cost of search, with TikTok and Meta and Google, customer acquisition costs have risen by 60%. And so do the math, and I think you would all see this in your business, but obviously every single person that you pay or refer or affiliate, think about all of the great connections you're going to make with other retailers and with service providers in this room. You need to convert every single one, right? And while this is the retail fest where we talk about AI, even in 1980s clothing, a lot of this stuff you are probably seeing and you're probably doing as a consumer now, right? But traffic to direct websites is declining. It's declining because people are now writing these quite complex consumer queries to find exactly what they want that will ship to their suburb by the time they want, that's available to pay the way they want, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a lot of research here that we would share from both the US and in Australia, but the way that search now happens typically if you think about Google or if you think about any of the traditional businesses that sold search, their businesses are going through the roof because AI is enabling these incredible queries so they can do more of them, so there's more searches being done. Look at the profit or the revenue of a Google or somebody that was threatened by these types of technologies. Actually, they're going through the roof. And all of these things are tremendously powerful for you as retailers. They also are tremendously costly, and we're going to talk about that in a second. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but like Australians are concerned about cost. They have been about rent, they have been about interest rates, they have been about energy costs in this country. This whole fuel crisis thing is a thing, and I think we should not shy away from the fact that consumers were already hurting a little, but potentially with the impact on supply chain and inflation, this means consumers are potentially going to hurt a little more. And we always put up this chart, but basically Roy Morgan, they have done this for 40 or 50 years. That stat in 2026 came out in the middle of April, right? So April 21 was their Q1 Consumer Confidence Index. And if you compare it to when we all went into national lockdown, it's pretty pronounced. So I don't want to bring the whole room down, but the whole idea that we need to compete pretty fiercely, that's why I called this presentation Making It Happen. This is the year for getting scrappy. This is the year for making it happen. And we're going to talk about how we would be keen to help you do that as a retailer. The last thing I would sort of say is this trust and safety thing still matters. Now, we always talked about this because, and if you look at any of the, media about Bluesfest, have a look at, that example where consumers felt like they were really let down by buying tickets to something. But Australians are concerned about trust and safety, and we survey this, and we do it every year, and people every year seem more concerned about it than they were the year before. And they're concerned about bad things happening to them, right? So one of them is cool technology, phishing, people, fake websites, all those sorts of things. They're also concerned about things, like I say, they've bought a ticket and the event's not going ahead, right? So trust and safety is tremendously important to Australian consumers. And something that's a really interesting piece of research is we actually find that even if we don't process a payment, 76% of people say if they see PayPal on the website, that they're going to trust the merchant because they have worked out that we've somehow vetted that the seller is a good seller, even if we don't get the payment, right? And so when we start to think about agentic commerce and agentic services and how that can help us grow our business and make it happen, we think that's about to become very, very important. So making it happen to grow, pretty simple funnel. Everybody in this room, I'm assuming, is pretty familiar with this. Let's just talk about some of the changes in attracting customers. Clearly, agentic commerce, product discovery has become really complex queries run in really simple language, right? Like I think it was a Tesla engineer that had the saying a few years ago, the next hottest programming language is English. Please find me a this in this size that will ship in this time. Like I can say exactly what I want and it will get served back to me, right? And so this is the way human beings are starting to search, including Australians. And I think these numbers are like a year old. They're way higher than that now. So this is changing the way, as a retailer, you get found and attract customers. The other interesting thing is how this is evolving. So on the left, and there's my shirt, and most of you won't even know what a Cabbage Patch Kid is. But go back to my nod to the 80s, you will keep seeing some of this stuff. So at the moment, people are using the far left, right? They're writing exactly what they want, which are the top 3 I should look at, etc., etc. Where we're moving towards, and I'll show you some examples, is this concept that I describe what I need to buy and I can buy it from a bot or I can buy it from an agent in the conversation. And we're going to talk about this in some detail. And on the far right is this concept of autonomous. This has been talked about for years. Hey, my fridge knows that I'm low on milk. So the fridge is going to sort of go and order from Woolworths or Coles, my regular supplier, how I reorder milk. But what this means is a big opportunity and a big threat. And what the saying, I think we used it last year, which is your next customer might never visit your website. You might be visited by a bot or an agent. And again, if you talk to someone that's a head of corporate security or a CTO saying we want to start letting bots into our business because that's where a lot of shoppers are coming in, it is a big change in thinking in how we think about the technology layer that exists in our business. And it does give you this tremendous opportunity to find new customers. It also gives your customers tremendous opportunities to find other retailers. And so we think that's something that we were keen to solve as a company. I'm going to talk about what we're doing to help you as retailers with that. It also potentially changes this concept of a customer relationship, right? If we are shipping a product and we have a product and we have inventory, do we get to keep the customer if we get the sale through Perplexity or through ChatGPT or through Copilot or one of these other platforms? And so there's a bit of a view here that this is a great opportunity. It's also potentially a big change in thinking and can be a big threat. So what we've announced is this concept called PayPal Store Sync. Now, this is not live in Australia yet. It is live in the US. We plan to launch this here in Q3 or Q4, but we are enabling your surfaces to be exposed through all of the major LLMs so that your inventory and your product and your stock can be found. But we're doing it in a way that you still control the relationship, and the relationship with the customer is still with you, right? So it's like a normal transaction. We're not trying to abstract you from it. We're not trying to take people away from it. We make your product discoverable, and we make your product shoppable in an AI context, but then it's a regular transaction. And again, because consumers trust PayPal, if they find you, they're likely to convert in one of these agentic contexts, as opposed to, hey, this random company that AI is telling me I could buy from, I don't know anything about who they are. Is it a real company or not? It's the PayPal trust that actually adds a lot into that. And so how Store Sync works, and actually the steps here, they're really just features. You don't have to do these three things. But Store Sync is where your catalog, if you use PayPal Store Sync, it will get your catalog using APIs like the Google Shopping API as an example. It will connect to your order management system using APIs, and then you are able to capture agentic commerce transactions from all of these major LLMs. You'll be able to capture these transactions or capture these customers that find you with some of the really unique products that we've just heard about from some of the retailers that were on the stage. So you don't have to build relationships with all the LLMs. You will still keep the relationship with the customer. So it's pretty important sort of stuff, and we're very excited that this will be rolling out later this year in Australia. It is already live in the US, and I am going to show you a little demo. I was supposed to play this while I was talking, so you would totally ignore me. But I am going to show you what's live with Perplexity in the US in a second. But in fact, why don't I do that right now? So to give you an example, this is something live with Perplexity at the moment. So right now, there are thousands and thousands of merchants whose products are being surfaced using this technology through Perplexity into actual shoppable transactions. So I'm going to run this video now. So there you go. That last point is a really important point, that seller protection and buyer protection is available. If you think about agents doing business with agents, how do you know it's safe? How do you know it really exists? PayPal becomes a really important trust layer that enables this type of e-commerce to take place. Now, as I say, as Australia's preferred online payment method, we think this gives us a really good chance to help you support that sort of agentic commerce future. Let's just talk about conversion for a minute. We spoke earlier about basic things that you all know about, like friction. Like this first stat I thought was really interesting. A site that loads in 1 second converts at 2.5 times a site that converts in 5 seconds. 45% of Australians say if there's too much mucking around to find things, they're going to abandon a cart. Again, these are all things that we know. But I would also sort of say to you that making a customer find their preferred payment method, if we represent, something like 60% of e-commerce buyers in Australia, like 1 in 2 adults has an active account. These are identical checkouts, but telling them that PayPal is available is something that will potentially help you convert that sale, right? And again, even if you don't click the PayPal button, the fact that we're there, our research shows people are going to trust that seller based on the fact that PayPal is available. So really important to present a button so people know that it's available. If people are searching using Agentic, to know that it's available. It's a very important point. And we have a whole team of people here at the stand at Retail Fest, and if you want help doing this, regardless of what cart you're on, we would highly recommend that you come and see us about it. Something that's even bigger in Australia or faster growing is this concept of buy now, pay later, right? So there's a few players in this market. Something like 7 million Australians use a pay in 4 product or a buy now, pay later. It's actually about 20% of e-commerce in Australia. Now, with PayPal Pay in 4, that's included in your fees. If you offer PayPal today, if a customer chooses Pay in 4, for us it's just a choice. They might use bank, they might use debit, they might use credit, they might use American Express, they might choose Pay in 4. You still get the same amount of money, we don't charge any more fees for it, you get the money that night, right? So this is effectively bundled into what people already pay for PayPal if you're a seller. And for consumers, they love it because there's no fees whatsoever. So it's if you're not taking advantage of this, I would say it's super important that you not only expose it, but make sure people know it's available. Some people want to pay this way. Other people need to pay this way. Some people want to spread cash flow. But it's a really important part of the market in Australia. It's larger here than anywhere else in the world, which is interesting. And so you're selling a $2,000, $1,800 sofa, you can put messaging up there, you will drive higher conversion if somebody isn't sure if they can afford it. Or putting a second button on. So it's the same, it goes to the same checkout with PayPal, but you can say Pay in 4 is here if you want to convert that into these 4 payments of $449. Again, we've got a team here. You can do this with any checkout, any shopping cart, and I say come and see the team about how to do that because we believe this will help you drive transactions. And this data is not all PayPal data, right? 20% of e-commerce is BNPL. It must be serving some purpose. 1 in 3 Australians have used it in the last 6 months. That's from us and other competitors in the market, obviously. And we have a large and growing share in that market. So expose the button. Come and see us at the stand. Try it out. Put my hand on my heart and tell you you'll grow your sales, right? So that's an important point. And we're actually launching this in-store. That is really me. That is at a JB Hi-Fi store, and we've just started launching Pay in 4 as an in-store, but I'm going to tell you more about that later. The other thing we're going to launch in Q3, if you sell large ticket items or medical equipment, if you're an NDIS supplier, you sell travel or something like that, we are launching what's called Pay Monthly. And Pay Monthly is for larger transactions. It's a credit product where the consumer pays interest. But for a retailer, it's the same as Pay in 4 or the same as PayPal. You don't pay for it. The money shows up in your account that night. If we've decided that consumer is eligible for a loan using our data, we will offer them that option, and you get the transaction and you capture it. So think if you're selling furniture, because Pay in 4 through regulation is capped to $1,999. So if you've got bigger tickets than this, Pay monthly is going to be something else that will help you drive conversion and will help you convert sales, make your orders larger, if that makes sense. So we'll be lending up to $15,000 over these sort of time periods. Again, we take all the risk, the retailer doesn't. You still get your settlement every day, just like any other transaction you do with PayPal. And again, for a lot of retailers, this may not be relevant to you, but if you are selling bigger ticket products, this is going to be another way to really help you drive conversion. It's something very big, and it will be launching here in the third quarter. The last thing I would talk about is sort of keeping customers coming back. I've got a bit of a bee in my bonnet because my 80s shirt that I ordered 2 weeks ago hasn't arrived. I won't tell you who the retailer is, but they keep offering me the chance to win more things even though the product hasn't come. At the end of the day, it's this team in the room that makes it happen. It's when things go wrong that customers do the right things. You know, it's how you resolve an issue. And the people that spoke on the stage, it's that human element as well as the automation. It's doing the right thing by the customer, which everybody in this room is here because you've had an idea and you've executed on it, and none of it's been by accident, right? So doing the basics absolutely matters. Making it hard for customers to find what they want is not what you want to do. It's when things go wrong, you know, they call it moments of truth back in the 80s in the airline industry. That's when someone really tests if they're really going to love you as a retailer or not. But the other thing that I'm going to share with you today is something that we will be launching in 2027 that will drive a lot of the PayPal consumers to retailers in Australia. Now, Australians love a reward program. We like points, whether it be for Qantas or Everyday Rewards or Flybys or OnePass. Australians like rewards. They like American Express points, as an example. And most of us belong to at least one program. And customers in surveys say they will go if they think they can get their points. They will go to a different retailer or something like that. So what we're launching in 2027 is basically a PayPal rewards program. Now, we call it PayPal Plus. It is live in the UK. It's about to go live in the US. And again, as a retailer, you're not paying for it, right? So it's something we're offering to consumers to reward them for choosing PayPal. And importantly, if you look at this little video, it sits on top of whatever credit card they're using. If they use an Amex card or a credit card and get their own points, they'll get those points too. But we are going to be offering consumers points on top to reward them for their loyalty, which they will be able to redeem anywhere that offers PayPal, right? So it's not going to be you have to buy a flight, especially if we run out of jet fuel. You don't have to go into a gift store to buy a toaster. So these points will be convertible and used at any retailer that offers PayPal. And so it's got really strong traction in the UK. It's rolling out in the US, and it is something we're very excited. It costs reasonable money to run a program, but we're very excited about launching this program in Australia in 2027. So look, that's all I've got. This year is the year of making it happen. I think it's a challenging year. This is a year for leaning in. This is a year for getting scrappy. This is a year for finding the angles. You know, at PayPal, we are so proud to partner with Australian e-commerce, and we're really proud to partner with Retail Fest. Clearly, there's a lot happening in AI, and we're really keen to talk to you about it. But we do think there's really quick wins around buy now, pay later and things like that. Please come to the stand. The team will help you get set up and take advantage of this because it will help you grow your business. We're super proud to be here. We're proud to be a sponsor. Have a really great Retail Fest. Thank you for your time.